Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see, I got the tie on, the very famous tie. We got the Top Hollow music going on in the background, that exciting, invigorating, probably one of the most energizing songs in the game that isn't event music. Because we got some exciting stuff going on, and that is some more Pokemon Sleep news. Now, today, the news, Clodsire. Clodsire is out, as y'all know. A lot of you maybe have already encountered Clodsire because you're in a time zone that actually has this guy available. As you can see, the geniuses over with Rain X are starting to gather some of the data on this guy. Still unsettled ingredient and skill trigger rates. So some of the discussion about this is still up to potential differences compared to what the reality of the situation may be. I'll wait to make my Clodsire video until these ingredient rates are settled for my Pokemon review series. But I do want to talk a little bit about this and what this can mean, because honestly its ingredient list is interesting enough, and at this point this is probably a relatively reasonable guesstimate for what the ingredient rate could be, because it's been quite some time and it's been fixed at this 20.8% as a rough estimate. And something very interesting, I posted in the Discord earlier today, when they first announced its ingredient list, I did some math based off this potato proc and Quagsire's potato proc. I did some weird math with the potato procs, their frequencies, and Quagsire's ingredient rate before they had any sort of guesstimate for Clodsire's ingredient rate at all. And based off the math that I did, I was like, I'm going to predict it to be around 21.7%, which, if this is what it is, then I gotta say that's kind of impressive, because I was within 1%. The actual rate that they're currently estimating is 20.8%, but yeah. I thought I would mention that because it's something that made me a little bit proud that I was within 1%. But yeah, so Clodsire, what does he offer? I think they designed this Pokemon pretty well, because a lot of people were asking for a mono cacao option, and it sure enough is a mono cacao option. The other major theory was it's going to be the Comfey of Coffee and it's going to suck. And honestly, that's also kind of correct. It is the Comfey of Coffee. But not because it's mono coffee and terrible. They did the Comfey concept correct with this guy. Because it's an ABB option for coffee, which makes it, additionally, it's more difficult to get to level 60 before getting to Old Gold Power Plant where you can hunt an actual coffee farmer. But because of that, it also limits the amount of coffee that it outputs. Meaning that when you compare it for coffee production, it's actually pretty terrible. In fact, if I give these guys a 2,000-hour ribbon, it's outperformed by a mono coffee Charjabug. It's outperformed by an unevolved Pokemon. So, it's not very good for coffee. But cacao, on the other hand, it is the new best cacao option in the game. I didn't think this was going to happen, because I thought they were buffing Absol intentionally to make it still the best cacao option. Just because it is a 16-pip Pokemon. Ideally, it should be the best cacao option, but it looks like they didn't take that necessarily into account, that the extra cost means it should be better. I think the devs have this idea that 16-pip Pokemon, since you catch them and they're fully evolved and you don't have to invest into them to evolve them, that means that they're easier to raise, which, if that is their thought line there, then that is entirely wrong. Because the cost to even catch them is so insanely absurd that 5-pip Pokemon are just way easier to hunt than these guys ever will be. But that's a whole different discussion. We got Clodsire though. It does outperform the Absol based off these initial estimates. Now this is still subject to change. If this number fluctuates a little bit, it could go down. So don't take this as fact. If you're watching this, like, even just like a week from now, please go check this number to see if it is the same, because this could change. And check these numbers yourself, or ask someone in our Discord if it is correct or not. Check it out. But aside from that, it looks like it's going to be, at least, even if it does go down a little bit, it's going to be similar rates, but significantly better than the Blastoise as an ABB option. 57 compared to 52. So they filled both roles. They gave us the mono cacao option and gave us the Comfey of Coffee, the early game coffee option that kind of sucks so that there's still an option once you get to Lapis or once you get to Old Gold Power Plant, and there's a reason to go to Old Gold Power Plant and hunting the Vikavolt, because it is way better than what Clodsire can offer. Now, something very interesting as well. Paldean Wooper has a... Normally I wouldn't talk about frequencies or under-evolved Pokemon, but I think this is a very interesting thing. Previously, the slowest speed in the entire game was Donsley at 6,300 seconds. When you do the math, Paldean Wooper's frequency is actually 6,400 seconds. This is the new slowest Pokemon in the entire game, so have fun knowing that if you get a speed of help down Paldean Wooper with no help speed subskills, you literally have the slowest Pokemon in the entire game in the current with the currently released Pokemon. So that's something kind of interesting. But yeah. Inventory's 20, which is kind of surprising to see when on Quagsire, its brother, it was only 16. But somehow it still runs into inventory issues. If you compare it for the coffee, one of the big things that does hold it back is inventory, especially like when you see here, it comes up to 72 versus 83 on the Aggron. I guess Aggron just has better inventory. Yeah, Aggron's got almost the same inventory, but it's got an extra evolution stage, so it does struggle a little bit for inventory compared to other Pokemon here. What does Vikavolt have? I didn't actually check this. Vikavolt's inventory is 19, so also 19 with 2 stages of evolution. So its competitors have better inventory, so they run into less inventory issues than what the Clodsire has. So that is something that's kind of working against it, only have one level of evolution. But what's very interesting, cacao, coffee, potatoes. Cacao, very synergistic with coffee, is in the top tier Clodsire Eclairs, the new meal that just got released. Of course, Clodsire is good for making Clodsire Eclairs. What a shocker there. You just need something for milk and honey. You probably want something to supplement the cacao or the coffee, because if it's producing both, it's probably not producing all of this, because it's not going to be that good. But it's the new mono cacao option. If you have it maxed, it's producing more than the Absol. If you get the 2,000 hours ribbon, it's doing pretty well with a help speed M and an ingredient M, which I think you can probably find something like this. 84 cacao a day, pretty easily. You add in that you just have one Pokemon on the team with helping bonus, you're probably getting to enough to reliably make this Clodsire Eclair, despite taking 30 per meal. So it's a pretty powerful Pokemon for making that Clodsire Eclair. Probably among one of the more good ingredient specialists in the game. I'd still personally prefer a Blastoise, because it provides a little extra coverage in the milk, and you can always supplement with either berry specialists or stockpiled ingredients in your bag. So there is still, I think, something going for both of these guys. Unfortunately, Absol is hurting here. The only thing it's still got going for it is synergy between apples and cacao, which there isn't even that much of these days. At lower tiers, yeah, but by the time that you'd be considering level 60 ingredients, there isn't really any apple cacao meals. So Absol, despite being buffed, has interestingly been made more irrelevant than it was before, unless you happen to have a really good one already. I was really surprised to see that the Clodsire is outpacing it. I'm kind of hoping that this number is wrong, because I'm hoping it's a little bit lower to not cause this effect. I would prefer if the Absol was the better specialist for cacao, because it is a 16-pip Pokemon. It should be better because it is more costly. But anyway, something also very quirky about this. Potatoes. Why potatoes? I was having a discussion about this in the Discord with some people. This is, weird. There really is, no synergy with the options in potatoes. Defiant Coffee Dressed Salad does have coffee and potatoes, but it being a BC option, you're never going to produce them in this much of a quantity with the one Pokemon. Theoretically, you could pair it with a good Toxicroak that's AAB or ABA, and try to produce the oil and sausage, but to get the right stats on a Pokemon to get that level of productivity, you're never going to be able to catch it. It's just absurd. And then the other discussion is cacao and potatoes, which is Dream Eater butter curry. That's written all over it. Where is that here? Oh, there it is. Dream Eater butter curry, potatoes, and cacao. But even if you're doing that, you would need something that produces tomatoes and something that produces milk, which there's nothing that has that synergy. But this meal is made with a synergistic combo of Victory Bell, Mr. Mime, maybe even Venusaur if you have an ABC spread. And then for cacao and milk, you have Blastoise. So there's a much more synergistic combo out there that exists than what we have with cacao and potatoes on an AAC Paldean Wooper. If something came out that it had a partner Pokemon that produced both tomatoes and milk, maybe milk at base and then B option of tomatoes, then you could get like AAB of whatever that is, then maybe there'd be something there, but it's also not the best meal in the game. So I feel like most players that are making that already have that base covered and are looking to better meals at this point. So I don't think that's ever going to be really a consideration. So this potato is kind of just a troll ingredient. And I feel like a part of the reason why they added this potato here is just to give it some sort of relation to its brother of Quagsire, because Quagsire has potatoes as a B ingredient. And that's the only overlap they really have. Aside from main skill, which brings up another very interesting discussion. The precedent set for regional variance. For when it came to Alolan Ninetales had the same ingredient list, but had different berry, different skill. Wooper has different berries, different ingredients, same skill. So then there's a question of if they have a... And I'm going to credit where credit is due. This theory came from a Brovini video. I'll link it in the description if I remember. If I don't remember, somebody please let me know in the comments, because I do want to give credit where credit is due. In that video, he discussed then what happens with skill specialists. Theoretically, the only other thing left to change is berry typing, but you can't do that unless the Pokemon has berry typing in the game that overlaps. So that would be pretty rough. Like, that would work fine for Hisui and Arcanine, who has fire in both of his specialty types. Like, both Hisui and Arcanine and base Arcanine are fire type. So that works. But what about Galarian Slowking? Galarian Slowking and Galarian Slowbro are poison types. They are not water types. So that wouldn't work for them. Same with Galarian and Alolan Persian and Meowth. Dark type and Steel type, not normal type. So that doesn't really work quite well. And I think that that theory is very interesting to discuss. That there's like one element that's kept the same based off of whatever the regional form is. But I don't think they're going to do that because the typing is a bit more difficult, and there really is nothing else to keep the same as the way I look at it, other than their stats. But they're not doing that. The stats aren't staying the same in this game, obviously. So I don't know. Interesting discussion to be had there, but I don't know how much there is to it. Now, as for coffee production on the Wooper, on the Clodsire. Here's the interesting point is that, yeah, I do think it is the Comfey of coffee. I don't think it's a viable coffee producer. And that is partially because, like I said, look at this. It's outproduced by a Charjabug by a pretty significant amount. And that thing's an unevolved Pokemon. It's not if they don't have any sleep hours invested into them. But a very important thing to note is that if you want a long-term coffee option, then you're going to want to be making roughly, 82 per day? I think that's what that comes out to. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to do quick math here. 84 per day. Man, I did the math wrong there. Okay, so 84 per day is the goal. And even with this stat spread, with 2,000 hours slept with, this guy's only producing 72. So to produce 12 less than the goal of this. Now, if you want to make the Clodsire Eclairs, you only need 72, which is perfect for what this guy is doing. And I guess that is the best meal in the game. It has a little bit of synergy with the cacao at base. So maybe there's something to be said here about this. But notice the stat spread that I put in this guy. Helping bonus, ingredient finding M, and ingredient finding up nature with XP gains down. This is an amazing spread. A spread that you cannot justify while also getting the perfect ingredient list that you want. this is going to be very few Clodsires that exist in the world. And to make that comparison, I ran this Clodsire to see what its rarity was. And keep in mind that I did, for the sake of accuracy, use 0 help bonus stacks. I just want to make sure that's out there, because a lot of people will care about that stat spread since I gave this guy helping bonus. Helping bonus, ingredient finding M, quiet nature. I considered the fact that in a long-term hunt, you're going to be getting them to friendship level 10 plus, because realistically, you're probably not catching it in those first 10 ones, especially when you're looking for stats this pristine. And if you fully upgrade it, so this means you're willing to invest your sub-skill seeds to bring Helping Speed S up to Help Speed M and Ingredient Finding M, then what does it look like? What is the best? How rare is this Clodsire that I generated with the Helping Bonus, Ingredient Finding M, and the Quiet Nature? How rare is it with the right ingredient list? And at level 60, it is 1 in 2,633 Clodsires. That means statistically, only 1 in every 2... Now, people will get that. There's more than 2,633 people that play this game. If everybody caught just 1 Clodsire, somebody would get it. But it's not going to be a very common thing. This is not something you should strive to get, because nobody is going to be catching 2,633 Clodsires to have the expected amount caught to get at least 1 with the right stats, especially given that after just 40, you'll get locked to 2 gold subskills, and after 100, you'll get locked to 3 gold subskills, making it practically impossible. So this Clodsire basically doesn't exist, and this is the Clodsire that can reliably make your Clodsire Eclairs. Now, you technically don't need this good of a Clodsire, because you could theoretically boost it with helping bonus Pokemon. You could use good camp tickets that do further boost it, but the point is to be made there that this is just a very sad comparison, especially when you consider that this Vikavolt with the same subskill stat spread is producing 104 coffee per day. That is rough. That is a... Let's do the math here. I'm just punching it on the side. That is a 44% increase to coffee productivity. That is more than the impact than Ingredient Finding M, at least. And let me just double check that I'm correct about this. Okay, it's not quite more than that. I was going to see the comparison between that and Ingredient Finding M with an Ingredient Finding Nature, but that's definitely more. Still, though, it's more than a... It is more impactful to have the Vikavolts with the Mono Coffee list without Ingredient Finding M than the Clodsire with the ABB list and having Ingredient Finding M. So this is just one where the species gap subskills are going to be really difficult to really close the gap here. You're going to have golden subskills. But at least Clodsire is useful for cacao, even if it cannot satisfy anybody's coffee needs, as the Comfey of coffee that it is. Like I said, this is the Comfey concept done right. It does the job as a really crappy rendition of what it's trying to be in the Vikavolt, while also actually doing something well so that there's still something desirable about catching it, unlike with Comfey. Comfey was just done so dirty. But yeah, that's about all I have to discuss about Clodsire. Very interesting new Pokemon. I'm very excited for getting to use him if I do catch a good one. Mine's going to be a little bit delayed, but for those of you that are hunting him, I hope you have good luck with it, because this is a pretty powerful Pokemon in the meta right now. I can see it already. As long as this number doesn't drop significantly. Let's see, has it updated since I started recording this? No, it is not. Still 20.8. So, yeah. If you have enjoyed the video and learned a little bit about this new Pokemon and the things that it brings to the table in terms of the meta of the game, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I always try to be one of the first people to cover any Pokemon Sleep-related news, data mines, events, all of it. I don't cover bundles, but I cover everything else. Link to link to my Discord is in the description. Be fun to have you guys join us and join the community and the discussion over there. But yeah, Thanks for watching, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.